What's going on, everyone? Just finished Real Sales Talk, Season 3, Episode 2. Going to roll right into our new series called Real Sales Talk, Tech Talk, where we pass along to you tools and articles and apps to help you do your job better. This is a midweek episode, so if you're listening to this, it's probably middle of the week, around Wednesday or Thursday, even though I'm recording this on a Sunday. So tonight you're only going to hear from me because Henry, my fantastic co-host, is actually out of the country in South Africa at a conference. So I'm going solo and going to make it short and quick, just like Tech Talk is designed. So this is Tech Talk number 2. And today's article is 6 questions you should always ask yourself after losing a deal. I found this article on HubSpot, HubSpot.com. They're a fantastic resource, by the way. This was published earlier this month, and this is something that I think every salesperson, every startup CEO, anyone who's doing formal pitching should walk through mentally. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, the podcast version of this, you'll be able to. I'm actually looking for the. Here it is. You can check this out in the show notes. You'll have a link there, or you can just go to YouTube and watch the video version of this. So, all right. So 6 questions you should always ask yourself after losing a deal. Again, this is HubSpot, and the first one is, did I personalize every interaction? I think this is probably very given for most people, like it's expected. But how I interpret this is you should always be bringing this back to the why of why they started looking into your product or your service. Always bring it back to the why. Personalize that interaction, that email, that voicemail, that conversation with that original intent, that reason why they started looking into your service or your product. Did I add value? This is something that I think is really overlooked a lot of times because you get into that sales mode and you're like, I got to meet my quota. I got to make sure and close this deal down, and you completely forget about the customer and about the customer's needs. And so anytime that you can approach a conversation with, how can I help this person or people, or how can I serve them, is the phrasing that I like to utilize, because it just reminds me that I'm here to serve the customer. I'm here to help them get what they need by putting their needs first. So did I add value? Did you add value? This is really, really key. Okay, so number 3, did I instill a true sense of urgency? I love this one. And this is, I'll admit this is something that I always have to remind myself when I'm starting a conversation. And you'll see here in this particular article that Mark Roberge, who used to be the chief revenue officer and was early on with HubSpot in the early days, now teaching at Harvard Business School as a senior lecturer, says that it's really, really important to establish that sense of urgency in the discovery phone call. And this is beneficial for a few reasons to establish a sense of urgency. It helps them move themselves, right? Instead of you pushing them or you pulling them, rather, they're walking on their own towards that objective, whatever it is, whatever that problem that they're trying to solve. So sense of urgency. Did I skip any stages of the sale process? Just when I think that a sale is a shoo-in and I skip stages of the sales process, that's the moment when that deal falls apart at the very end. And so making sure that you're going through every part of the sales process is really, really key. Did I make the most of my time with the decision maker? You may only have 10, 15 minutes with that decision maker. Are you making the most of that time? To ensure you're making the most, I'm just reading this from the article, straight from the article here. To ensure you're making the most of your conversations with decision makers, ask influencers about the economic, buyers, goals, priorities, potential concerns, and so forth. Once you're finally in front of the decision maker, briefly confirm their goals and priorities match what you've learned from other stakeholders. All right, so last is, did I use a hard closing technique, right? Nobody likes to be hard closed. So this all comes back to, I think, establishing that sense of urgency in the very beginning in that discovery phone call. If they have a sense of urgency, they're aware of the need of the problem that they're trying to solve, you don't have to hard close them. Whenever you sense that you're hard closing them, you haven't done a good enough job in the very beginning of the conversation to move that sale along without you using aggressive closing tactics. Part of the article says, morphing into Mr. Hyde and using aggressive closing tactics will cancel out all goodwill you've won. The buyer may well decide they'll be better off walking away, which might be what brought your deal down in the first place. So most of everyone that's listening to this podcast is typically in line with Henry and I's approach to be very consultative, to avoid using hard closing tactics and techniques and hard selling. But if you're doing that, consider doing it a different way. There's definitely a better strategy, and long term, it's better for the customer. It's better for your relationship with them, and it's not just about that single sale. It's about that long-term relationship where hopefully you're going back to them in that life of that customer and selling them more things. So if they feel pressured, you ruin your rapport. You also ruin that opportunity to sell them more things, to upsell them later on in that customer's life with your company, your product, or your service. That, my friends, is the down and dirty real sales talk, tech talk number 2. I hope you're having an amazing week and looking forward to connecting with you again for real sales talk as well as tech talk. See you on the next episode.